Hey y'all, today I'm teaming up with Jay. He's a financial advisor who knows all the ins and outs of long-term care planning. And hey, it's Long-Term Care Insurance Awareness Month. Did you guys know that? And so we just wanted to be here to chat a little bit about that and talk about why planning ahead matters and how it can make life so much easier down the road. And so I'm just here to kind of lead the conversation along. Jay really is the expert today. And so let me just introduce you to him. And then that way we can kind of dive into some of the golden nuggets that we've got. Hey, Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. So, Jay, tell us a little bit about you and your business and kind of how you help your clients.
Yeah, so again, thank you for having me. I am a retirement income certified professional and a financial planner with Bluecrest North Texas. We do a lot of different things. We work with clients of all ages, but I would say my expertise is really helping people determine how much they need to be saving and where they need to save it in regards to retirement planning. But also, how do we mitigate some of the retirement planning risk, which is what we're going to talk about today with long-term care planning.
Nice. All right. I love it. Well, thanks again for being here. I really, truly believe in the power of neighborhoods. And so we have an incredible neighborhood here, and it's just always fun to collaborate with other people and tap into their expertise. So, all right, Jay, let's dive into the nuts and bolts of it. So can you tell me, why are you so passionate about long-term care planning? What do you see?
Yeah, so I've just seen firsthand in my own family the financial and emotional burdens of a long-term care event. So I just really wanted to do everything in my power to help as many people as possible plan for that situation.
Yeah, I fully understand that. That's why I feel like I'm such a poster board for long-term care insurance. It's so important. So what are some things that most people assume about long-term care? I know that one of the biggest things is that it always takes place in a nursing home. I think that's our very first thought.
Yeah.
Give me your take on that.
That is the most common misperception about long-term care, that it does occur in a nursing home. That's actually not the case at all. The vast majority of people receive care in their home, and the vast majority of caregivers are unpaid family members and friends. So most people want to stay in their home as long as possible, and that's completely understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a shocking fact about, and I might even have that written down. Let me look. Over 53 million Americans provide unpaid care for a family member each year.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about.
That's exactly
right. You put that number to it, it's shocking. And then when you deal with it firsthand, you really just kind of understand where that number comes from.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's overwhelming. The amount of work that people put into taking care of their family members and they're not getting paid for it, it's pretty overwhelming.
Right, absolutely. So what are some other misconceptions about long-term care planning that you can think of?
Yeah, so most people assume that either Medicare or Medicaid will cover them. Unfortunately, that's not true either. Medicare will only cover a portion of expenses for up to 100 days, and then you're on your own after that. And then Medicaid is really only for those that are impoverished individuals with extremely low assets and income.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm sure you could talk a whole lot more about that. And just one thought that I have is I often are meeting people that aren't even at the age for Medicare.
Right.
And so they're relying on just their regular health care insurance, and that's not going to provide what you need either. And
that's exactly right. Yeah, unfortunately, it's just going to have to come out of their personal assets and savings, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about cost, as we're kind of there at that crossroads. So, What wisdom do you have for us in the cost that's associated with long-term care if somebody is paying out of their pocket that they haven't planned?
Yep, exactly. So the costs vary depending a lot based on the type of care you're going to receive and the location. But on average, I think we could expect that home health care would be around $4,000 to $5,000 a month, somewhere in that range, and a nursing home would be around $6,000 to $7,000 a month. Again, there's going to vary a lot depending on where you're at, but I would say those are pretty good averages.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And people just do not have that extra income at their disposal.
Exactly.
So, what are some of the things that, or the types of products that you can offer that they can start considering for that financial planning? Because again, it all goes down to what you can't necessarily plan for the exact circumstances that you're going to be faced for.
Right.
But most of us can assume that we are going to face this at some point.
Yeah.
And so how can we plan for that, Jay?
Yeah, so the odds are that the vast majority of us are going to need care at some point. So how much we're going to need, none of us really knows. But when it comes to the products that we can start using to plan ahead, if we were to have this conversation 10 years ago, we would have been looking at your traditional insurance product, which is what we call a standalone long-term care insurance policy, which is very similar to your homeowner's insurance, your car insurance, where you pay a premium into this policy and you hope you never have to use it. Now, about 6 or 7 years ago, a lot of these insurance companies got really, really creative on the products that could mitigate a risk like this. So what they realized was that a lot of people didn't feel comfortable paying into a product for the rest of their life that they may or may not ever use. So some of the products that we've seen come out in the industry over the last 6 or 7 years, a couple of them, for example, would be, we could look at a whole life insurance policy that has a permanent death benefit, a guaranteed cash value, but they could also use that death benefit while they're living if they experience a long-term care event.
Right.
So that would allow them to say, you know what, here's a product that I can put my money into that if I don't need it for long-term care, the death benefit will eventually go to either my spouse, my kids, or my grandkids, or I could use that guaranteed cash value to help supplement my retirement.
Yeah.
So I'm not being pigeonholed in a situation where I'm going to pay into something I may not ever use it.
Right. Yeah.
So that would be one example. Another example, a little bit less common, would be there are certain types of annuity products that, let's say you purchased an annuity that gives you a guaranteed income stream as long as you live in retirement. But if you go to a nursing home or assisted living facility, that income would double. For example. So, for example, if you're getting $25,000 a year from the annuity, you go to a nursing home, you're now getting $50,000 a year.
Yeah. Wow.
So it can really help offset some of those additional costs.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I love just kind of hearing how you don't have to fit into a box.
Yeah, exactly.
I also love just the flexibility of it, like, to where if this happens, you have these options. If this happens, you have these options.
Exactly.
So that's great. Oh, I love this question so much. When do most people start planning for long-term care insurance, and when do you recommend that they start?
Yes, so this is definitely the most common question I get. So on average, most people purchase long-term care insurance when they're 58 years old. So that's the average, right? But that means 50% purchased it before 58, 50% after 58. However, I could make a very strong argument that we should be starting that conversation as soon as we possibly can. And here's why. So when we're talking about specifically insurance products, whether it's a standalone long-term care insurance or a whole life policy with the death benefit rider that allows you to access it while you're living for long-term care expenses, you have to qualify for those policies, which means you have to be healthy enough to get it.
Yeah.
So obviously, the longer we wait, the less healthy we're going to be. But also, these premiums are based on your age. So every year that we get older, the premiums are going to go up and up and up and up. So the earlier we start having this conversation, we can implement a policy, if that's the route we need to go, we can implement a policy at a lower cost, but also lock in your ability to have the coverage, because once you have it, they can't take it away from you.
Nice. Yeah, it's so important. It just goes back to the main theme of today's conversation. It's the planning that you put into, and when you give that age, that 50, would you say 58? Yeah. That's when it's already knocking at your door. Yeah. And so, it sounds like there are still some options possibly if you're healthy enough, but my goodness, why wait? Why wait until it's at the door?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I know every year I get older, it gets a little bit harder to get out of bed. So let's just start while we're young and healthy, and we don't have to worry about it in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jay, this has been so just eye-opening. Is there anything else that you would like to add that we maybe have not talked about? Or also, please tell the people how they can get in touch with you if they have some specific questions that they might want to throw your way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the last thing I would say is that, I think you and I probably both fit into what we call the sandwich generation, where,
Yes.
Our parents are aging. We've either seen a parent or grandparent go through a situation like this, but we're also in the situation where we're having to raise our own families at the same time. And that can be, it's hard enough to raise your own children, but also having to take care of a family member at the same time. It can be really, really overwhelming. And I would just encourage people to think, do you want your own children to be in that situation as well? So the planning ahead is critically important. As far as how they can reach me, I'd be happy for you to visit our website at bluecrestnorthtexas.com. You can reach out to me directly at my email address is jaylancaster@financialguide.com.
Perfect. And we'll make sure to link those both below in text so that people can have the right spelling.
Absolutely. So. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks again, Jay. One last thing I'd like to leave with you guys is this quote that says, "Failing to plan is planning to fail." I know we've probably all heard that at some point in our life, but it really, really rings true, especially when we're talking about your own health, your family, and your finances, right? You work all your life to save and plan and take care of things, and then here comes a kink in the road. And so you got to plan for those too.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Jay. And thanks for listening in, people. And reach out if you've got any questions. He's full of knowledge.